At a family reunion, my aunt hugged me tightly and whispered in my ear, "We always knew you'd be the one left behind." She pulled away, smiling for the cameras as I choked back tears. 5 years later, I walked onto a stage in a stadium packed with 10,000 people and made sure she saw my name lit up in lights. I'm the one nobody noticed. The quiet cousin. The tag-along at every holiday. I wasn't the pretty one or the smart one or the athletic one. I was just there. I blended into the background at every family event, and nobody ever asked how I was doing unless it was out of politeness. My family has always had this messed-up hierarchy. If you weren't good-looking, successful, or part of the inner circle, you got ignored or worse, looked down on. And Aunt Colleen?
She sat at the top of that mountain.
She had money, her kids were always bragged about, and she never missed a chance to remind everyone who was better. Her. My mom was her younger sister, and I guess I inherited all the things Colleen didn't respect: anxiety, acne, cheap clothes, and silence. The reunion was in San Marcos, Texas. 5 years ago. Big rented ranch house, hot sun, country music blasting out of Bluetooth speakers, and too many folding chairs. My mom forced me to go. Said it'd be good for me to see everyone.
I was 20 at the time.
In college. Studying digital media at a school that no one in my family considered real. Everyone else was doing something impressive: law school, med school, corporate jobs, modeling, engagement announcements. I showed up in a thrift store dress and scuffed up sneakers. People looked at me like I smelled. Then Colleen strutted over. She wore this tight, bright red dress like she was headed to a cocktail party, not a backyard family event. Gold jewelry, perfect makeup, and her smile. That smile that never meant anything good. She came in for a hug like it was just another photo op. She pulled me in close. Real close. Her arms were strong. Not loving. Controlling. Her lips brushed my ear. And she said it. "We always knew you'd be the one left behind." I couldn't even react. My brain just shut off. I felt cold, like someone poured ice water down my spine. She pulled back, smiled for the cameras, and posed with me like she hadn't just stabbed me in the gut.
Click. Flash.
My fake smile was caught forever in some Facebook album. I didn't speak much after that. I sat by myself, picked at a paper plate of potato salad, and watched everyone else have a great time. Laughing.
Dancing.
Comparing their big lives. No one noticed I had tears in my eyes. No one asked if I was okay. That was the day something cracked inside me. I wasn't angry yet. Not fully. It was more like shame. I wanted to disappear. But somewhere inside all that pain, a tiny ember of something started burning. I didn't want to be left behind. I wanted to prove her wrong. When I got back to school, I threw myself into my work. I didn't party. I didn't date. I didn't even go home for the holidays. I started building something. First a side project. Then a platform. Then a brand. I taught myself video editing, content marketing, SEO, all of it. I freelanced. I built a following. It was slow, and it was lonely, but it started to grow. And I remembered her words every time I felt like giving up. Fast forward 5 years. I'm standing behind a curtain. My hands are shaking, but my heart is calm. 10,000 people are waiting in the stadium. My name is lit up on every screen. My logo is everywhere. I built this from nothing. From the dirt she thought I belonged in. And in the front row,
My mom.
my friends. And her.
Colleen. She's older now.
Less confident. And her smile fades when she sees me walk out. I step into the light. I grab the mic. And I begin to speak. As I stepped onto that stage, I could feel the heat of the lights, the hum of the crowd, the beat of the music fading into silence as I reached the center. I looked out across the sea of people. Thousands of strangers cheering.
But I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking about her.
Front row. Perfect seat. Same stiff posture. Same expensive sunglasses. Colleen sat next to my mom, but they didn't look like sisters tonight. They looked like two women from different worlds. My mom was glowing with pride. Colleen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I stood still for a moment longer.
Let it sink in.
This was the launch of my digital media company's first major live event. A tech and creator showcase that I had built from the ground up. What started as freelance work in a cramped apartment had turned into a full brand, part production house, part creative incubator. I had sponsors, investors, and viral reach now. I didn't need their approval anymore, but I wanted her to see it. My name, I said into the mic, is the one you forgot. The one you looked past. The one you thought would never matter. I didn't say her name. Didn't need to. The audience thought I was speaking metaphorically, like I was talking about being underestimated by the world. They clapped. Some even stood. But Colleen knew. She knew exactly who I was talking about. I finished the speech. The crowd exploded. Cameras flashed. After the event, there was a backstage reception, press, brand sponsors, collaborators. I shook hands, posed for pictures, smiled until my jaw hurt. But then I saw her. Colleen made her way backstage with that same fake smile she'd used my whole life. She acted like we were old friends. "You've really made something of yourself," she said, voice sweet like poison. I stared at her. "Thanks." She tilted her head. "I always knew you had potential." I didn't laugh. I didn't nod. I just looked her dead in the eyes. "No, you didn't," I said. Her face flickered. Just for a second. That tight, fake confidence cracked. Then she pulled herself together. "Well," she said, "family's still family." That's when I leaned in close, same way she did at that reunion years ago, and whispered back, "Not to me." And I walked away. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. A week later, someone tried to smear my name online. It started small. A few fake reviews. A couple of anonymous accounts questioning the legitimacy of my brand. Then came the blog posts, the supposed whistleblowers, all trying to suggest I was stealing content, cheating the system, even faking numbers. But I had receipts. And lawyers. I traced it all back through a hired cybersecurity expert. The accounts were tied to a marketing firm based in Dallas. A firm owned, surprise, by a friend of Colleen's husband. She didn't want to see me succeed. She wanted to pull me back down. But she had no idea who I'd become. Not anymore. I wanted to confront her. Every part of me did. But I'd learned something over the years. People like Colleen don't break when you shout. They break when you take away control. And that's exactly what I planned to do. The firm that launched the smear campaign? I didn't sue them yet. I did something worse. I quietly bought them out. They were struggling financially, and thanks to a shell company I'd been advised to set up for just this kind of situation, I acquired majority ownership without anyone connecting the dots. 3 weeks later, I walked into their Dallas office. Nobody knew who I was at first. But when I sat in the CEO's chair and told the remaining staff that they now worked for a media group owned by me, well, let's just say the mood shifted. And then I called a mandatory meeting. Had them pull up the client list. Colleen's name wasn't on it, of course. She wouldn't be that sloppy. But her husband's company was. Under a fake shell name, paying through another entity. I had the proof. I didn't go public.
Not yet.
Instead, I showed up at her house. Not her big city house, but her lake house near Canyon Lake. The one she always bragged about. I drove up unannounced, in broad daylight, stepped out of my black SUV in jeans and a t-shirt, and knocked on her door. She opened it, stunned. The smile didn't even make it to her face this time. "What are you doing here?" I held up the file folder. "You tried to ruin me." Her eyes flicked to the papers. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You don't have to," I said. "Just listen." I laid it out for her. The smear campaign. The fake names. The payments. The firm I now owned. I showed her everything. She stood there frozen.
Pale.
Completely exposed. "You don't get to pretend anymore," I said. "I'm not the kid at the reunion. I'm not the one left behind."
She tried to speak.
I cut her off. "I don't want your apology. I don't even care if you hate me. But if you ever try to pull something like this again, I will take everything you love. And I'll do it legally.
Publicly.
Slowly. She said nothing. Just stared at me, like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. And honestly, she didn't. But the story wasn't over. Because a week later, my mom called me crying. Colleen had spun a new story, told the whole family that I'd threatened her, that I was unwell, and that she feared for her safety. The same people who had ignored me for years now had something to gossip about again. And this time, I wasn't just the one left behind. I was the villain in her story. They all turned on me. Calls stopped coming. Texts went unanswered. Even cousins I hadn't talked to in years were suddenly writing long Facebook posts about family values and how sad it was when someone let success go to their head. Nobody asked for my side of the story. Nobody cared. My mom was stuck in the middle. She didn't believe Colleen, but she was scared. Scared I was changing too much. That maybe I had lost touch. She didn't say it directly, but I could hear it in her voice. "You've become someone big," she said. "Just don't forget where you came from." I hadn't. That was the problem. I remembered every moment, every eye roll, every ignored birthday, every time they made me feel small. And now that I had power, I wanted to burn the whole rotten tree down. But something in me said, not yet. Instead, I waited. I sent my mom on a paid vacation. She didn't know why, just that I wanted her to relax and unplug for a while. I paid off her mortgage too.
Quietly. No fanfare.
Then I dropped the match. The media company I owned quietly released a podcast series. It wasn't under my name. It was part of a new project we launched, stories about real-life toxic families and long-hidden truths. The third episode? It detailed a family just like mine. No names were used, but anyone from my circle would know who it was. The script pulled from real texts, voicemails, and documents. It told the story of a girl constantly put down by her rich, cold aunt, of how she fought her way to the top, and how that aunt tried to tear her back down out of spite. The podcast blew up. Tens of thousands of downloads the first week. Then hundreds of thousands. TikToks analyzing every line. Reddit threads connecting the dots.
People guessed.
People talked. Colleen's reputation took a hit. People who knew her professionally started distancing themselves. One of her charity boards quietly removed her. Her husband's company lost a major contract. The Whisper campaign had turned around, now biting her from the inside. She tried to sue for defamation, but she had no proof it was about her. And I had all the legal ducks in a row. That should have been enough. But I made one more mistake. I went to another reunion. I told myself it was for my mom, that I'd stay calm, be civil. It was in Fort Worth this time. Same awkward buffet, same plastic smiles. When I walked in, the room got quiet. Some avoided my eyes. Others whispered. But she, Colleen, sat there in the center like nothing had changed. I walked over to her. She stood up, trying to keep her cool. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" she said, voice low, tense. I didn't deny it. "I just told the truth," I said. She leaned in, and for the last time, I heard that fake sweetness in her voice. "You're still that scared little girl under it all. The one who cried at the reunion." I smiled. "No," I said.
"She's dead."
"You buried her." But I grew out of her grave. I turned and walked away. That was the last time I saw her. But here's the truth. I didn't win without losing something. I lost trust. I lost parts of myself I can't get back. I became colder.
Sharper.
More like her in some ways. I don't know if that's revenge or rot. All I know is this: they left me behind. But I made damn sure they had to watch me walk forward. Alone, but never forgotten.